Hey there everyone, thank you so much for joining another Wildlife with Ray. This time we are headed to Newfoundland to photograph caribou. It's an amazing place to experience these very beautiful animals in some beautiful habitat. I won't be sharing the exact location for this one selfishly because I do run workshops there, and hey, I'd love for people to come join me, but also a really good friend of mine is the one who gave me this location to begin with, who was also cool with me running workshops there, but they gave it to me in confidence. And I'm sure all of you wildlife photographers can understand when a friend gives you something and asks you not to share that location, you shouldn't share that location. I do hope you enjoy seeing some of these photos, and I even have a few videos just to show you some behind the scenes, and I'll talk a little bit about the experience as well. So let's dive into it and take a look at some of my favorite photos right here. You will notice there is one photo of some moose that snuck in there, but for the most part, it was all about caribou. And so this was my first ever time really seeing and photographing them. I think I had seen, my good friend who lives in Newfoundland, Brad James, had taken me and Emily out at one point to see some caribou. We did get to see them, but they were just really far, and we had only gotten some glimpses. So this was my first chance to really see them up close and personal like this, which was a real treat. And I'll show you a video real quick of kind of the first time seeing them here. Pretty cool first day here. There's a little caribou calf, super cute, wandering around out in the fog. So you can see it was really foggy that day, and I gotta say, I thought it was gonna be really hard based on this first encounter. You can see how they're kind of like all alert and looking at me. Shortly after I took that, I think this photo, I don't know if I got this right after, I think this was later. This whole little small herd there just moved right away from me pretty quickly. They weren't like a full run, but they were moving quick. It wasn't like a slow walk. And over this habitat, you can't chase them. Not that I wanted to anyway, but there was no way I was keeping up with them. So I was just like, okay, I guess that's it. I had like just snuck up over a hill and they saw me and then were like, all right, bye. So I thought at that point, I'm like, man, this is gonna be tough. I don't know if it was just the fog or something about my approach, because I did sort of sneak up on them because I did my approach like I normally do with wildlife, not realizing these were somewhat acclimated, not somewhat, they're very acclimated in this area. And so I think maybe the surprise of me just showing up there kind of maybe freaked them out, and maybe the intense fog because they can't see that far, that kind of thing. I don't know, whatever it was. That was the only time it happened, because after that, every encounter I had with them, they were just super friendly, did not seem to care one bit. And then I was able to just photograph them in any and every way possible, as you will see. So that first day I did spend a little bit more time with them, and here you can see they're just like grazing with the calf in the background there. Didn't matter. This one was super curious, came right up to me. I liked the one little purple flower on the toenail, looked like toenail polish there. It was kind of fun, or on the hoof I should say. This one just like walked right up to me. I laid down and just started shooting away as she came right at me. And I don't know about you, but I kind of like the sort of raggedy fur there. There's an interesting look to it. It's not a clean look, so it's not the winter coat, it's not the summer coat, but something fun about that raggedy coat to me, like there, that really shows it off, right? Just the winter coat still shedding off like that, which this was in, gosh, when was this? Yeah, July. So pretty wild that they're still shedding the winter coat by then, huh? But anyway, the fog really simplified the scene, made it really nice and easy to get a clean background. And I shot a bunch of these guys. This one was kind of fun, out of focus on purpose, just playing through the grasses there, trying to get creative. And you're really going to see that on this particular outing. I did a lot of work to try and do stuff completely different. This is wildlife I've never photographed before. And when I found out they were so friendly and acclimated like this, you can see this thing's just walking by me, just grazing right there. I just thought this is the time to try and get as creative as I can and use all the tools at my disposal, all my different lenses and stuff like that to try. So here's a few more photos of these guys in the fog, and I'll switch real quick and show you another video of them in the fog here. Pretty cool, huh? They're just all grazing on the side of this tundra pond. So mostly, yeah, I had 24 to 70 with me, I guess, on this day. I don't know if this was all the first day. I had a few foggy outings for sure. So I can't remember if it was all the first time when I took the 24-70 or if I had just stuck with the 100 to 400. But I played around with some long exposure spins, so rotating the lens during a longer 1/30th of a second exposure, just trying to do some different stuff with that. And then really getting wide and down in the habitat there. I really like this one. This is one of my favorites right here, just showing off that boggy, marshy habitat like that. And it was really neat how the water kind of meandered through that space, and they would just kind of walk through that, and you could hear them sloshing around in there. And so once I realized that, you know, normally I'm always trying to do that low perspective, kind of be on the subject's level, but for this one, a higher perspective I thought worked really nice, both to show off the habitat and show off the caribou in that habitat, you know. So this guy was, you know, he was pretty cool. He just stared right up at me, and then he just went back to eating and drinking and moving right along there. And he moved out of that area, so I went back to low perspective to try and make him be a little bit more tall and looming. But it was interesting. This fella, this was a male. He at one point started, like, I would see where he was going, and you know, even with acclimated wildlife, I never want to like push in on them and just kind of move quick or anything like that. So when they were foraging, I would see which way they were going, kind of head up in that direction, and then just crouch down and just sit kind of motionless and let them come towards me, or usually what I expect is let them to go by, you know. This guy would come like right at me. And guys, there was a few times he walked right by me so close I could hear him chewing on the grasses and stuff. And it was a little nerve-wracking. I was like, all right, just, it felt at that point it was like too close. I didn't want to move and potentially spook him, you know? So I just kind of sat still and didn't move at all. And he really did ignore me. He just walked right by, but within arm's reach, like easily could have reached out, you know? And honestly, it was like a little nerve-wracking and a little too close for comfort. So I did my best to try and make sure that wasn't going to happen when they were walking around like that, you know. And you'll see an encounter I had later where I did make an approach really slowly, and I'll tell you about it. But yeah, anyway, scratching, eating, close-ups, shot this with the phone because the flower was cool right there. It's crazy how sharp these images are with the phone. It's like, it feels too sharp in a way. I feel like they over sharpen the edits on these things, because I know I didn't do that, you know. Then later that day I found, a semi-palmated plover out on the rocky shoreline, which that shoreline is stunning. It really is. And so really cool to play with that. And I think I would find some spotted sandpipers out there as well. There's one right there on just about the same rock. So with these, I was really trying to show how this rock was like elevated on its own. So that's the perspective I remember trying to work and see if I could figure out how to kind of show that angled rock laying there like that, you know. And I think these kind of worked out like that. And then I just took some portraits of them as well as they were moving through. Baby spotted sandpiper, he's all ratty looking. He had obviously fledged and was moving around, but and savanna sparrows out in this beautiful tundra habitat, just stunning. Loved getting them out there. Back with the caribou herd. This is definitely another day. I also tried playing with zooming during slow exposures, so you can see 1/30th of a second, and you can kind of get that impression of movement here. Not the best one, but just something else to try and play with, you know. And then just shooting some portraits of the cow and the calf. And then I used my Lens Baby sort of tilt shift lens. And so that's a 35 millimeter. And I was able to get them, I don't know why it says 500 millimeter, but it's 35 millimeter. I was able to get some of these wild irises in focus and set that diagonal focal plane to lead right back to the caribou, which was a challenge, especially when they were moving like this, but really fun to try, you know, to get that thing in focus in the foreground and my subject in focus in the background and sort of have that line lead you to it like that. Pretty cool, right? There's one that's probably a little bit more successful, I would say. Nice diagonal frame there. And then I just started trying to frame them within each other, you know? So using one animal to frame another. So this encounter, the whole group of them were just laying down resting. And so I spent a lot of time with them there, guys. And I just kept moving around different directions, just seeking different angles, different layouts like this. And then I started realizing like they just didn't care. And I had already had 1 or 2 encounters where they had walked so close to me, so I knew they were acclimated and pretty chill. And so you'll see in a little bit here, I start getting closer like this, just getting like these resting portraits at 250 millimeter. This is one that I really liked with the tilt shift again. And I had a backpack with me with just a couple of different lenses that I kept switching around. The foggy weather made it nice. Yeah, this is one that I edited up and shared. That's the final edit. And there you go, you can see them right there, all resting, chilling. Some even had their heads down like this. So I made sure to really watch body language on this, because the last thing I wanted to do is move in and kind of, scare them or spook them from rest. Here's another tilt shift effect. I actually just put a perfectly horizontal focal plane right in the middle there and just let the bottom blur out. Just trying to get something different with that. And I don't know, this was just the regular 24-70, just trying to show off those flowers there. And then this started happening. So I started moving in close to them. This is shot at 24 millimeter, guys. And so I laid down and I just slowly started just inch by inch moving in, sitting there, resting, watching them. A lot of them were still just totally resting. And I can tell you, I did this entire experience. I moved in with these guys with the images you're about to see, shot them really, really close, and then slowly crawled out, and they never moved. I think 1 or 2 of them on their own just got up, like ones that I wasn't even close to, but the animals that I got really close to never even stood up, never freaked out. I didn't flush them or chase them off or anything like that. I didn't stop them from their rest. And then I made sure to just as carefully kind of move my way out and not disturb them. So this entire encounter you're about to see, no disturbance was had on these animals. Like I said, I would not do this with normal wild ones. They are technically wild, but they're very acclimated to people. And so here you go. Yeah, I moved in and started getting, this was the biggest antlered male there. I think he was the only male actually at that point, because this one I think is the female, because the females do have just smaller antlers. But this guy had a little something to him. So that is me going in with the iPhone here, just taking a selfie. And then these are some of the shots I got with that. And I don't know if I have, yeah, here's a video I'll show you of what it looked like when I got closer there. So you can kind of see, this was just shot on the phone. Like there he is, look how relaxed he is. Just resting, just full relaxing. And you can even see it later here. So I shot him like this, 24 millimeter at f4, just trying to show the closeness and the vastness there. There's not much to this landscape to really show off. And then I realized at one point my lens was hovering over top of his hoof. So I had to actually back it up because I started cutting off, and you can see I kind of did there, that hoof. But then I realized this. I realized like the way he was looking, laying there was so interesting. He was so relaxed. And this habitat is just so lush and green and pretty. So I thought to myself, I wonder what this would look like from a higher perspective. And so I very slowly, guys, just like inched my way up, like pain in the legs because you're like standing up so slowly kind of thing. Because again, I did not want to scare this animal. So I was able to get up like this and get this shot. And I gotta say, I've had other people comment and mention this, but doesn't it almost feel like he's like a puppy dog laying down there, just the way he's looking? And then this one too, I came back down after that, and then he laid his head down. Like, that's how relaxed he was. It was just so chill. It was like almost like a pet. It was so funny. And while I don't encounter wildlife this friendly that often, it was something really special to be just the only one there hanging out with this herd. They were super relaxed. They never showed any fear. And yeah, I just took a few of these. This guy stretching out, looking all gangly with their legs. And then the calf, I never got that close to the calf. This was shot at 300 millimeter. So I did get some nice portraits of the calf laying with its parent there, but I didn't bother, trying to go in close for wide. I thought that would just be pushing it too much. Did play a little bit more with the tilt shift with, I assume it was mom and calf, but I saw that calf hanging out with a bunch of different adults. And then randomly they stood up and she started nursing. So I guess that is mom, I guess, unless multiple ones nurse. I'm not really sure about this species. But of course it happened when I had this silly ass tilt shift on, but whatever. And then yeah, just showing off some habitat there. It's so pretty. I love this lush green, especially that time of year with the little flowers blooming and everything like that. Just really, really pretty. And then, they walked right by me. This was another one of those scenarios where I went ahead, sat down. In fact, I laid down in this one because I was really low, and they just came right over. And this calf was curious, and it was really interesting. I remember this now. Mom was trying to keep it away. Like, you can see the little antler nudge there. I think that was like not that close, like don't go any closer kind of thing. But in these iris fields was really pretty. Another little spotted sandpiper chick running around the tundra there. And then there's this guy with a little bit bigger antlers. He was really nice. These guys showed up the next day. That's right. This was a different one. Next day, another herd showed up, not the ones that I had been photographing. A little bit better light, which was interesting. And then they went over into this spot. Like, come on. Can you wish for anything better? Just in a field of wildflowers, of just yellow flowers, and they walked right into it. And so I was able to shoot him like this and like this, 100 millimeter here, trying to show it off. Just showing off the ocean in the background and these flowers. And next day, I guess this is after actually, yeah, okay. So I did some riding out there. I think this phone photo might be out of sequence, but maybe that was from me, just doing some riding out there. Beautiful coastline to ride along. And I'll show you actually real quick a video that Emily took of me. This was probably one of the coolest places that I've ever ridden, the mountain bike. And I got to do this along that coast when Emily came over. So all of the previous photos, Emily wasn't with me, but yeah, it was challenging to ride those rocks because they were just really big, lots of gaps and everything. Challenging for me anyway. A few ledges I had to kind of climb up over, and then just working along the edge of that and trying not to fall into the water was certainly key. But what a fun, unique habitat and place to be able to get out and do some mountain bike riding and exercising with that as well. So just wanted to show you guys. That's like part of the other thing that I certainly love doing when I get into these places. And it's a great way that I get to go around and scout. So this is still by myself. Emily hadn't arrived yet. Finally had some sun, which was really nice to play with. Started playing with the calf. And this one actually, if you head on over to Learn Wildlife Photos, that's a page on my website that has lessons that I've put out for wildlife photography. So you can watch me actually during that shoot. So if we go for, I don't know if I have a section for mammals here, but if you just check out all the lessons here, you don't have to go back too far, I don't think, before we can see photographing caribou in Newfoundland there. And so you'll see all these photos. So you can actually watch me through the lens and watch me edit all these photos, and you can see a wide view, so you can really see what it's like to shoot there. So check that out. Plus I have tons of other lessons there. They're all free. So you can just check out any one of these lessons, and when you hit the homepage of Learn Wildlife Photos, I have it kind of broken down into different lighting styles or different bird types. And then I also have some lessons that are more about gear and settings and techniques like that. So that's a little plug for that, but it's all free. So, head on over there and check it out. Anyway, you can watch me take all these photos live through the camera, which is really neat. But yeah, beautiful light. I had so much fun with this little calf trying to get the rim light and the glow there. And that was definitely a thing I was after. This one looks like I haven't straightened it out. I don't know if I missed this photo editing it or whatever. Yeah, so I really was concentrating on this backlit stuff, trying to get that glow on these guys because it was the first time I had any kind of sun on this shoot. So yeah, look at that. Like, just beautiful sun back there when it got really low, beautiful soft light, and again, 100 millimeter. That's how close this guy was coming right in. Yeah, all I was doing was shooting backlight every chance I could get on these guys because it was just stunning, stunning light. And front lighting them did look nice, but it didn't show off the colors that way, and the sort of the hills in the background weren't as beautiful. So it just really made sense for me to photograph them backlit out towards the ocean. Because by the way, this is all coastal, which is really neat. And check this out at 100 millimeter coming right at me. I really wish I had a wider lens on me, but I think I forgot to bring it with me that day. Just for whatever reason, slipped my mind. I don't know how, but I think because I was recording behind the scenes, I was worried about all my other equipment to do that. and I missed bringing my wide. In fact, I reached into the bag to grab it because I thought I had it, and it wasn't there. And I was like kind of bummed because there were some opportunities that would have been great to shoot wider, but I did the best I could with the gear I had. And so 100 to 400 was a big part of that. Yeah, there's definitely a few photos in there I haven't edited yet. On my way out that day, driving out, and all of a sudden there was a vehicle pulled off on the side of the road, and it had gotten dark. I had already wrapped up my shoot. Sun had been down for a while, but there was still some dusk light out. And yeah, I see this other car and then a couple of people standing out on the side of the road. So I'm like, yeah, they probably are looking at something. And then I drive past them, look out, see these moose out there. Three bull moose. This guy laid down, or just down in a gully there, and then this one out there. And so I crept out with the 100 to 400, managed to get into this perspective, and I remember it so clearly, guys. I remember thinking, this is a cool shot right here, but what if, oh, maybe there was 4. Yeah, there was 4, because this is my favorite shot. So you can see this one down there. This one stood up, which you can see the legs back here. So yeah, he's already stood up. So I got these 2, and then there's another one off to my left here, out of frame, that I can't get in at this point. And I remember thinking, he starts walking across, and I remember thinking, wouldn't it be great if he like went into this space? And guys, sometimes you just think something and then it happens, and it's kind of one of those, how did that happen? Like, how did it line up that way? Because I was laid down at that point. I had to get myself down into this lower gully so I could put them up against the sky, because I didn't want to shoot their heads at least against the grass back there, because I figured they would just get lost because it was so dark. And it looks a lot lighter here than it really was because I'm going with a slower exposure of 25th of a second. He stops there, and then he takes the next step in and stops right there. I mean, look at that spacing. Like, that lineup is about perfect. Spaced between the other 2, and then it's funny, you get to see the antlers of that other bull moose down in there. I took these shots, look at that, 13th of a second. My goal was really to keep the ISO down. That's why I went so slow with the shutter speed, because I knew looking at the scene, it was a higher dynamic range scene. And I don't know, yeah, I don't have the straight out of camera one handy right now, but it was more like this kind of stuff, like almost a little bit more silhouetted. These guys are pretty dark here. So I knew I wanted to have a lower ISO so I could play with that. So I dropped down to 13th of a second. It gave me 1250 ISO, which is decent. And then I was able to kind of really manipulate it and get some detail out of this guy. These were all shot on the Z6 II because I had broken my Z9 at the time. So that's why I only had the one camera. And that thing is amazing in low light, so totally fine having that. Anyway, I got this shot. This bull was definitely interested in me laying down there. So right after this, I took like a few frames and I was like, let's get the hell out of here. I backed up, and I think, yeah, that was it for that, because this one was like definitely too curious. Like, the others were looking at me, but that guy was like, I'm gonna come get you, was the look he had. I'm sure it was just curiosity, but I didn't want to take the chance with the moose. So I backed right on out of there. We only did, I think we only did one outing for these guys, just because, again, our travel schedule was hectic on this particular trip. But we had beautiful sun, and it just, yeah, we waited for it to get low. This was when we found them pretty early, and then we just waited for the sun to get lower and had some beautiful golden encounters with those same ones. And this time, I actually remembered to bring my wide angle lens. So this should clean up a little bit here. You can see some funky colors in there, but that's just the preview not being rendered. There we go. That should look much nicer. And yeah, I got to shoot this calf. That other bull was there. The antlers a little bit bigger this time because it was a few weeks later at that point. So that was really nice. But yeah, stunning, stunning light. At first, it didn't seem like there was going to be much of a sunset, but then the clouds started showing up along the horizon, and boy, were we treated to a hell of a show, you know? This is that habitat again, just showing this off. Looks really, really cool. There's Emily standing out there with these guys, and beautiful calm pool. It was a beautiful night. So quiet and calm and just gorgeous, gorgeous light. Look at that. I was so happy to shoot them kind of going across that reflected thing. I wish I could have gotten the reflection in there, but they were too far kind of in and hidden from the grasses, you know? really concentrated on the rim light with this one, you know, as these guys were coming across with that glow and the antlers and the fur and everything. And I really did some, you know, much darker with the exposure just to make it all about that rimlet glow, like that one. It's one of my favorites. You know, check that out. I'll show you guys that with no settings there. And then, yeah, just, you know, having a blast with it. Sun finally started to dip, and I put the sun right behind him to really get a strong glow, which was kind of fun, you know. There we go, a little bit wider as the herd is moving across, and then off to this side, just getting those stunning colors and showing off the ocean to show that habitat. There you go, last little bit of sun right before it dipped below the horizon there. So it dips below the horizon, and then this insane experience happened. Emily and I see the herd feeding over in these deep grasses. We walk in and lay by these these logs. There was this like big kind of cluster of just logs laying in there. And so we just kind of sat down by them, nearby enough to shoot them. And then this guy starts walking right up to it. And I remember thinking like, man, this leading line, I can use this log to like use a leading line to come into it. He walked right up to it. Look at this. He was like over top of the thing looking at us. This is 24 millimeter. We did not move. This was a really great experience because they were close, but not that close. We sat down, didn't move, and then just let them move around us. And they did that. They moved all different directions around us. This is another one where I really went with a low shutter speed because the dynamic range was through the roof on this one. You know, these guys are dark, shooting towards the setting sun sky. Even though the sun was out of it, it's so much brighter back there. So I really wanted to have a lot of dynamic range, so I was keeping my ISO really down low for this one. So 160th of a second did the trick. There's my final edit right there. And then look, he was like sniffing the log coming in there. There you can see how close they were. It was crazy. That's Emily shooting 24 to 70 there. They just came right in. And this one, yeah, he walked, I mean, right by, he looks closer than he actually is there. Listen, he was close, but he wasn't as close as it seems. It wasn't like a foot away there. But he ate there and then he just walked off this side. It was the craziest thing. In fact, like she was like, I might move out of here a little bit, you know? Just really, really wild to see them come in that close like that, which was really, really neat. And so, yeah, just had an absolute blast. We finished up with shooting these little guys there, and this guy walked right in my face again. So I got this cool shot with the pretty colors. There's my final edit in the background there. And yeah, just some super low perspective stuff at 24 millimeter. Like this is the time where, man, I wish I can get an encounter like this again because I'd love to have my 10 millimeter, my new 10 millimeter lens out there because it would be a real blast with this kind of stuff, you know? And then I think, yeah, there you go. This is another great example of shooting a little bit slower shutter speed to keep that ISO down so I can do this in post and get a nice clean image out of it. And I'll zoom in here and give this a second to render for you. I'm a little bit soft there. It's not like tack on the eye, but I think that's actually more focused than anything. Again, this was the Z6 II because it looks like the antlers right back here are totally tack sharp. So I think I just focused, you know, off the eye just a little bit. I don't really think it was movement at 60th of a second because he was just kind of standing there eating, you know. But, you know, in the end of it, it doesn't matter that much. And it goes from that to that without a problem, which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, I forgot about this one. One of my favorites. He just like leaned in and was eating. And this one is soft because he was moving at 60th of a second, but I didn't care. It's such a funny shot. There's my final edit right there. Almost looks like he's smiling at you and then sniffing in. And I think this was another one of those times where I had to kind of like back up because yeah, it was like they were just curious. Yeah, there's Emily hanging out with one, just smiling and happy. And then I think that was the last shot I took of that night. Yeah. So I'll show you one more time some of my favorites here. There you go. And it was such an incredible trip. It really was. And I'm so excited to be able to take people back here this coming late summer in 2015. And so if you're interested, let me know. I'll put you on the wait list for the following year. But yeah, some incredible, incredible stuff there. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. I'll see you on the next one.